Hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Hope everyone is having a good Tuesday. Steve and I did not think this through. Literally, like we both had live streams last night, and now we're back to back nights. So hopefully we don't bore you guys too much. But hello. Oh, Rocco said hello, everyone. Dustin back to back with Mr. Comeback tonight. Sure to be another good show.
He's got me mixed up.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're thinking of Brad, the comeback card investor. I think I had Jeremy from Sportscards live on yesterday, but I've had Brad on too over the last couple of weeks, so I get it, I get it. But yeah, thanks guys for showing up. This probably will not be a 2 hour, 3 hour marathon, just because, like I said, Steve and I already covered a lot of stuff last night, but wanted to touch base with you guys. We'll definitely answer chat questions. If you guys have anything, throw it out there, and we'll do our best. But I will go ahead and bring Steve on now from the shadows.
From the shadows.
How's it going, man?
What's going on? I got a light on behind me tonight, so I don't look like a ghost like I did last night.
I know. I need to. It's like so wintry. I need to put on some bronzer or something. I'm starting to look transparent over here.
Yeah, I bought a new monitor and it's real big, but the screen is just bright white. So now it just completely makes me look completely ghostly.
What's been going on? How's your week going so far?
Oh, it's going good. Made some sales, a couple purchases. Not really. I'm not buying heavily because I have so much stuff to sell, and the stuff that I want to buy right now is like I want some rarity, and I want some really upper tier type stuff. And I had to back out of an auction last night. I was a little upset about because it was a card I really wanted. It was even a PC worthy card, but it got a little bit over what I wanted to pay for it. But I'll probably never get another chance at it. So now I'm kind of second guessing, not pushing harder at it.
Just because it's super rare?
Yeah, well, it was a 2015 Immaculate dual auto of Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. And it was numbered out of 25, and it was a BGS 8.5, and the auto had a 10 on it. Now, there's 0 of those in the PSA pop report, and the 8.5 is the highest, and the only 8.5 in the BGS pop report. So it's basically a pop 1 of the highest graded of that card.
That's a sweet card.
And I feel like with it being Magic and Larry on the same card, and it looks really good. I mean, there's multiple nice cards of Larry Magic out there, but this one just aesthetically, it just looked really, really good.
You know, over the last year, I've been trying to pick up kind of in the similar vein as what you're talking about, like a mem auto card, just of Larry Bird. And man, those things have gone up so much. I mean, a year ago they were fairly reasonable, and it's kind of like exactly what you're talking about. Just different sets over the last 10 years have these Bird autographs, but yeah, I just kept on missing out on them, and now they've gotten crazy expensive. So.
Yeah. I'm trying to really get a nice, really big bankroll because I plan on going to the National. And, you know, if you show up with cash at the National,
yeah,
you know, cash is king. You can make some good deals. And I could find cards like that I'm looking for, you know. But by the time the National rolls around, will we have a National? Will the market be up or down? You know, you never know. It's a little while away, but
I know we talked so much about, you know, and Jeremy and I were talking about this last night. You know, it's like we've been basically in an up market for the last 18 months in sports cards. To be honest with you, I wouldn't even be that upset if we go. I'm not saying like, you know, down to the basement as far as pricing goes, but I sure wouldn't mind a little bit of a dip, you know, for a buying opportunity.
Yeah, buying opportunities are few and far between right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, I feel like there's always buying opportunities, but they're just not. I mean, they just keep on dwindling. You know, the different options, and then you feel like you're zagging pretty hard sometimes. You know, for buying opportunities, and so yeah, I'm not going to be too sad. I mean, I know people are always kind of like, you know, the fearing the crash. You know, the crash is just a buying opportunity. You know, that's really what, you know, how I think of it. And so that's and I don't think it'll really crash, but a dip I don't think would be a bad thing for us at this point.
Yeah. I see it's a shame, but like Tiger Woods rookies have seen 100% increase again today.
Yeah, Tiger Woods, that's crazy.
It's terrible.
He was heading out to meet Drew Brees for a photo shoot. Yeah, he was going out to meet Drew Brees and Justin Herbert for some sort of like media thing, and he was late.
Yeah. I never sell when tragedy causes a card to go up, even though sometimes it costs me money.
I've never done that either.
Yeah, I had my Maradona sticker, and I got offered $4,000 for that when he passed away, and it was only in a BGS 5, and I only bought it for like $600. I've since sold it. I ended up selling it for like $2,000, but I waited for all that hysteria to fall off, and then I went ahead and sold it. But I just didn't take $4,000 when he passed away because I felt like it was a dirty time to sell. Now, I guess there's not such a thing. I guess you got to capitalize on the market when you can, regardless of what it is. But I felt like, man, this isn't the reason that I want to be selling my Maradona sticker.
Well, so like you know what's funny about that too? What's funny about that is when I remember, I'm sure you probably remember too, but when Kobe passed away, there was all the hoopla about like, you know, it's really kind of like, you know, don't sell your cards now. It's not in good taste to sell your cards now. And Kobe cards have, but the funny thing though is I feel like there was people that were actually selling to get out of Kobe cards because he passed away. It was actually the opposite of what we're seeing in today's market. There was a lot of people that were trying to dump essentially, you know, and then they've done nothing but go up really since he's passed away. It's just a weird, you know, those are all weird, you know, weird things.
I'd like to get my hands on some nice Kobe patch autos and stuff. I know they're really hot right now, and you see some high-end YouTubers like Sasha buying that type of stuff and things, but I mean, they're just not going to be available.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. The only way they're not going to be available is if fractional and big-time investors vault them, because people don't realize Kobe signed a lot of stuff. He signed a lot of stuff with Panini. I mean, he signed a lot over the years. So I'm not saying that there's, you know, I'm sure there's probably more rare autos than others. I'm sure those are always going to be very valuable. But, you know, it's not like I view like Michael Jordan autos differently than I would Kobe autos.
Right.
Michael Jordan I'm signed stuff.
Like jersey patch autos for me, and mainly game worn, not this stuff they use now, you know, like the game worn patch autos, because you're getting an autograph and a piece of you know, jersey. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's a little different than some of the stuff now. This year's Hoops product put out like patch cards that were a piece of a jersey, and if you read the back, it said it was no way affiliated with anything or anybody. So basically it was a jersey card. It could have been anything, a napkin. I mean, literally a paper towel, you know, from the restaurant. But
that's when Panini's just printing. They're just like, you know what?
They're just putting out cards. Yeah.
Just printing cards, printing money, basically. All right, let's say hey to a few people here. Hey, Bradley, good to see you. Trading cards and more. Thanks for stopping by. Rocco, good to see you, man. Corey Lipinski, I am not watching WandaVision yet. Is it on now? Is that why you're asking? I haven't, you know, I've got a couple of buddies that have been all up on WandaVision. We've talked about graded comic books. I was talking about it last night with Jeremy because I saw there was some sort of, like, people are speculating that Mephisto is the big villain coming out of WandaVision. And so a lot of people are flocking to Silver Surfer #3 as a 60s book for those, and those have shot up. It's kind of funny, like sports cards, it's all based on performance or expectations leading up to a season. For comic books, it's all about like who's the new villain going to be, who's the new, you know, who are they making shows about, who are they making movies about. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Great. Hey,
see that in the Marvel universe a lot right now. You know how you've talked about it in a couple videos. We've discussed it, and you know how the Marvel cards have seen a boom, and that stuff is massively produced. It is tough grades. I pulled out my 1990 set that I never messed with just to see, you know, what a pack fresh card would look like, and the centering on them is tough, even if everything else is nice about them. But still, there's a lot of it out there. I wouldn't never want to pay high end for raw cards to grade or hit those $200. Like I watched your video and agreed with a lot of it. I did put in a submission of what I think are some of the most popular ones, but I did the 50-day turnaround because I feel like that's a little less risky. I can still get them back in a decent enough time to where I'm not waiting, you know, 6 months, but I can, but I'm not, you know, I leave myself some room if they don't grade out really high at only $50. And I sent in the, you know, the top names, not just everything. and I've picked up some rare Venom and Carnage items and Black Widow because they're all supposed to have movies this summer. Yeah. And anytime there's a movie and a spotlight or a catalyst on something, you'll see value increases, even if it's a short window to sell them. But it's mostly numbered stuff like precious metal gems and things like that. I even got a nice jambalaya insert of Carnage, which those jambalaya inserts are highly desirable in basketball. Yeah. So I was able to find a Carnage of one of those too. So those more rare ones I think are really cool.
I agree with that. I think that, that's the stuff that's going to have real staying power. Those, that more rare stuff that you're talking about for sure.
They're just cool looking. I sent 25 soccer cards in today, mailed them today, but I sent them to Sunday League Investors. It was another YouTube channel.
Oh, really?
They do a lot of soccer stuff, and they've started doing group submissions for soccer, mainly soccer. I think they'll take anything, but they do mainly soccer. They're paired with KK Cards, I think, because they live within the vicinity, and they drive the cards right down there, which is a huge group submission company. So I sent some cards to them. These are two of the precious metal gems I have of Carnage, and this is the Black Widow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I prefer this stuff over the 90s junk wax stuff, just because this is numbered out of 49. This one's numbered out of 100. So,
that's nice.
Yeah, because there'll be a flooding of the market with those PSA slabs. It may not be a super huge flooding, but it'd be enough to cut some of these $1,000 prices in half. So,
I think there'll be a lot of 9s. I don't think there'll be loads of 10s, but
I don't think so either.
I think there will be a lot of 9s, so probably 8s and 9s, tons of 8s and 9s. And for me, if I'm collecting, I'd be fine with a 9, just to have like a cool, a nice Venom or something that's graded out as a 9. I'd be good with it.
I know the Stan Lee. This is from experience. I had the Stan Lee in a 9.5. I had bought it way back as a PC item for like $60, and then they spiked up. I saw where a SGC 9.5, which isn't even a PSA 10. They are the one sold for over $1,000. It sold for like $1,100, $1,200, I think. And I was like, man, I got to get rid of mine for $60. I'll rebuy this card when the market gets flooded if I want it as a PC item. By the time I had listed mine and that auction went off 5 days after the most previous sale, mine only sold for a little under $500. So you had already seen a small dip, actually I saw a 50% dip. I was still happy with like $470, I think is what I got on a $60 purchase. In an SGC 9.5. But when you look at the price from the week before, it just was crazy. Star Wars, though, the 1977 Star Wars stuff, that stuff that I'm just looking at.
I remember you got some of that, and it's really popped off. It's gone.
Yeah, I talked about some of my sales on the live stream last night. It was just crazy.
Well, didn't Sports Card Investor? I think Sports Card Investor covered Star Wars as well this week. A lot of content creators have been talking about some non-sports stuff.
He talked about the 1977 Topps card number 1, which is Luke Skywalker. He's number 1 in the set. But, of course, the set has multiple. Every character has multiples, whether they're flying a spaceship or in a different uniform or whatever. But I guess because that one is number 1 in the set, it's actually the first printed card of Luke Skywalker. I watched a PSA 8 of that end for $4,000.
What?
In a PSA 8.
Wow.
The people who watched my stuff last night know I've been buying the Wonder Bread ones, and that's because I just want them for myself because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I bought. Okay, this was lucky. This was not me reading a market or anything. This was lucky. I bought 3 of these because the auctions were going for about $450 a piece, and there was a guy selling a lot of these for $1,400. And I said, I'll give you 12, and he said okay. So basically, I was paying $400 a card, and what I was telling myself was I'll get one for my collection, I'll sell the other 2 out at what they're going for, and get most of my 2/3 of my money back. That was my reasoning. It wasn't to buy them and flip them. What happened was I got them on February 8th, and a week later, the prices went nuts on them. I sold the other 2. The other one just went out in the mail yesterday. One went for $1,535, and
Wow.
one went for $13.25. So I got $2,800 back on two of them, and still have my one, and I'm only invested $1,200. So I'm invested $1,200. I still hold one, and got $2,800 back in return.
Wow.
But that wasn't me thinking that these were. I didn't buy these with the thought of these are going to triple in price in 3 weeks. I didn't buy them like that. I just bought it because I wanted it for myself.
That's awesome. Yeah, great timing there, man.
I got lucky. Yeah.
But
the one that I'm on now. The one that I'm on now is the Obi-Wan, which I talked about last night also, because he's going to get his own series on Disney Plus. And so right now he's pretty affordable. Like this one was like $175. So I could see a 3X, 4X on this card when he gets his series out. And of course my newest one is a Darth. I had to pick up a Darth Vader for my set. My favorite character ever is Han Solo, though. So the Han was the first one I ever bought. But
I know the Yam Wax out there. Yam is another
Yeah.
guy. He's got a bunch of this stuff. Not necessarily just the Star Wars, but in general, he's got a lot of these rare type cards.
So right now I just got 4. I got an Obi-Wan, a Vader, a Luke, a Han, and I did buy an X-Wing, but because it's just a spaceship, but it was only $20 when I bought it. And now even just the spaceships are going up, because I planned on buying a complete set in PSA 9s. So I'm just kind of slowly knocking them out.
Yeah. What? Oh shoot! I forgot what I was going to ask. Is that the first set of cards at 77 tops?
77 tops is the first set for for Star Wars. I do believe. I haven't seen anything else unless there's something sneaky that's just because that's when the movie was released as well.
Yeah. What are the
comic book
on those?
Yeah, the comic book is also, I think, the same date, right?
Yeah, I've got the comic book.
Yeah.
The number 1.
I've been looking at the comic books also. I know you said you had a 9.2 or a 9.4.
Yeah, I sold a 9.4 last year, and I've got a 9.2. Funny story with the 9.2. So this is it's CGC graded, obviously. This is the only time this has ever happened. But I shipped it out to somebody. I sold it, and I shipped it out, and when it arrived, somehow like the box, I don't know if it was like the Ace Ventura, like where he's kicking the box around in the beginning of the movie and it's completely destroyed. But the case got cracked. And the guy was like, hey, I mean, like this just arrived, but the top of the case has got a crack in it. And so he sent it back to me, and I still haven't I think I can just send that in a CGC and just get it re-slabbed or whatever for a fee, and I just haven't done it yet. So I'm just going to I'm almost glad that it happened because I want to just hold on to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, how what are the pop reports on those Star Wars cards? Are they, I mean,
the Wonder Bread?
They got to be low, right?
The Wonder Breads are real low. I don't know about the regular Topps base set, but the Wonder Bread ones, you're talking around 50 in PSA 10s, and you're talking under 200 in PSA 9s. And then your majority of your grades are 8 and lower. But yeah, they don't grade. They're not a very friendly grade because of the black borders, and you can just and the age of them, and just imagine, I guess, if they came in a loaf of bread, it's like coming in a box of cereal. It's like, I mean, I don't know if that's how they were distributed. I'm not really sure what Wonder Bread has to do with it, but yeah, I'm just sure they weren't very well kept. So the grades are going to be tough on, especially with those black borders. It's a nice looking card too, with the borders and stuff like that also.
Yeah.
Now some of the images off of it are taken from the Topps cards images, like the Luke Skywalker image that's on the Wonder Bread. He has a card like that in the top set, I believe, of him carrying that like spear thing. So the image is the same. So Topps probably had something to do with cross promoting that set.
Interesting. Yeah, those cards, I mean, it's a zag, but at the same time, I mean, Star Wars is one of those brands that's going to go on forever. I mean, Disney owns them. They're
Disney
like movies for the next 50 years. It's never going to end. And then even if it does end, like let's say they're like, you know what, we're not going to make any more Star Wars stuff. Then they'll redo it. They'll reboot it after 10 years or 20 years or whatever. That's a brand that's just not going to go away.
Yeah, never. I mean, there's such a high market, a mass market for Disney collectibles and Star Wars collectibles apart from each other. But now when you talk about them both being in the same entity, now the Disney collectors don't only collect Disney, they're going to collect Star Wars. Now, I don't know if Star Wars people will collect all Disney collectibles. I think that's a different animal. But
Oh yeah.
but as far as people who collect Disney and want anything to do with Disney, which there are maniacs out there that do, no knock on them. I'm not calling them that as a bad term. I'm just saying they're just crazy about their Disney stuff.
Yeah.
With Star Wars now falling under that same umbrella, they now cross two markets, not only the Star Wars comic book market, movie market, but they're also in the Disney market also.
Well, the thing is you don't need, I mean, with how low the population is, you don't need a huge demand of collector base for that stuff. You just
Right.
need, you just need a few, a handful of high end buyers, that want that card. And I feel like there's always going to be those people. Or, I mean,
yeah, like the whole reason I was buying it, I was buying them for myself. Now, I don't go collect everything there is that's Star Wars, but I collect cards and I like Star Wars. So
yeah,
I'm more of a card collector than I'm a Star Wars collector, but I love Star Wars. So I go out and a lot of times, I buy stuff that I really, really like for myself, even if it's a 50-cent Soundgarden card that I've talked about. I buy that because that's what I like. If I want to look at something and see something's cool or tell a story about something, that's what I'm going to tell a story about. I'm not going to tell a story about a base Prism rookie card. So those are the things that I cherish for my collection. It's the other things that I use to invest in and look to sell in the future.
Any thoughts on this question here? The Wizard of Oz. What is TCG? I don't know that.
I guess that would be like a trading card game, like a game like Pokemon or something. I don't know that Wizard. I mean, is it Wizard of Oz like the movie Wizard of Oz? Did they have a trading card game back in the day, or is it something that's new and they're just using the old? Are they reprinting it now to make a game out of it?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I don't know enough. I don't know if that's like the old.
Yeah, I know so little about that I'm not even sure if that was a serious question or a joke.
Yeah, that's funny. I took it seriously, and it could literally.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's how far we're zagging. Is like you could literally bring up just about anything, and we're like, that
you can right now. Anytime somebody brings up something, like I got the question of, "Are you buying any oddball cards?" And really, right now, if you mention something, it's not, and nothing's going to seem odd.
Yeah,
nothing's going to seem odd because everything's hot, and one thing leads to another. Everything is relative to each other some way or not. Like we just had Disney and Star Wars being relative to each other. Whether it's a TV series or whatever.
Speaking of Disney too, I've seen, I can't remember where I saw it, but like original Disney sketches and original Disney animation stuff goes for crazy amounts of money. I mean, there is a high-end investor, a high-end investor class for that original Disney stuff. Man, they pay serious money for that stuff. But I can see why though. I mean, if you have an original sketch of Mickey Mouse, I mean, that's
like owning history. It's like owning history. It's not just owning a collectible of Mickey Mouse or whatever. That's a piece of American history. They'll talk about that stuff in school books and museums. You'll see at the American History Museum. I don't live far from the Smithsonian in DC, so we used to go there as kids as field trips, and you'd always see historical stuff from TV shows and different things like that in that museum. Whether it was Archie Bunker's chair or Dorothy's ruby slippers or whatever it was, Americana, things like that people grew up on. So, the old Disney stuff like that becomes museum type pieces, high end.
Yeah, I'm not even a huge Disney fan, but I think that stuff is awesome. I mean, I could see how, that would, exactly what you said. It's American history. It's pop culture. Maybe it's some of the original pop culture history if we're going back. All right, question from Sports Card Portfolio. You think PSA is only going to go through group submitters? They already get better pricing and turnaround than basic members do. This is a Steve question because I buy raw, sell raw, or I buy graded, sell graded. I don't do the whole grading thing yet, but Steve does.
So I can tell you if you're going to submit bulk or if you're going to submit anything, I would say from the $25 turnaround time. First of all, you can't get the $25 turnaround time on PSA anymore. That is suspended, and that's actually closer to 3 to 4 months than it is 25 days. But You can still get that through preferred customers or people who have the membership, because you can't even buy the membership that allows you to get that anymore. You can only buy the bronze membership, which doesn't get you really anything except a newsletter. So, they do prioritize group submitters. That's just plain and simple. If you're submitting by yourself and you're submitting bulk, or you're submitting at the 25-day, even under your membership, you're going to get pushed to the back of the line. And let's see. Yeah, you're going to get the better pricing, but people are also going to put a price on it because they're going to charge you for their service. But the turnaround time is going to be better. Now, I submitted a $200 submission the other day, 2003 Topps LeBron. So that I'm going to submit by myself. I'm not going to send that to a group submitter, because you do got to trust the person you're submitting through. Do I trust a potential PSA 10 Topps LeBron $10,000 card coming back to someone and then them swapping it out for a 9 or something like that? I'm not trying to put a bad name out there, but there are also you do have to be cautious with what you send. I'm going to send my high dollar stuff like that has potential to be high dollars. Now, it could be a 9, it could be an 8, so it could be $1,000 or $2,000 card. But those PSA is still going to take them in, because if you go to their website, there's no question mark that says that this service is affected by turnaround times, or turnaround times are affected by volume. They're still honoring those turnaround times as close as they can. So basically, the 2 business days is basically more like 10 business days, but you can still submit that yourself. But for big submissions, bulk, economy pricing, probably the best way to do is to go through group submitters. I'll use this as an example. My last economy submission I did at the $25 turnaround rate, I did myself before they removed that service. It's been sitting in the grading phase longer than 2 months, and it's been at PSA since August. They logged it on August, so it was probably there a month before they logged it. They logged it in August. In January, StarStock sent in an economy submission, the same submission that I have that's been sitting at PSA since August, and StarStock got theirs back in less than a month. So they did the same submission, $25, 20-day turnaround, $25 per card. Now they charge their customers $30 to use their service. They got them back in less than a month. Meanwhile, my cards have been sitting there since August, and I paid the same price as StarStock did to submit my cards for the same rate, for the same turnaround. So it is what it is. I'm not very happy about it. I sent an email to PSA and asked them. They really don't care, because when they're dealing with big business and getting in all these big bulk submissions, that's where they're making all their money.
Yeah.
And, that's why they get special treatment.
Mosaic Mind, pretty good question here. I think it's relevant. Do you think the PSA submission glut is ultimately driving down prices for raw cards on eBay? I'm just trying to think for me, and I'm not selling a ton, but it does kind of make me pause about buying raw cards, just with how many slabs there are and different. It's almost like, do I really want to buy this raw card, or do I want to spend my money differently and just get a PSA 8 or 9 of something, of something different that's already graded, just with the backlog and everything else. And honestly, I don't think that just because Nat Turner's rolling in there and taking over here soon, that's just going to change overnight. I think it's going to take. I think it's going to take a year for them to get any sort of huge groundbreaking technology going there. I could be wrong. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but I think it's going to take 9 to 12 months from right now before they really, really speed up the process with new technology. Just speculating.
Yeah, as far as submissions, PSA driving down the price for raw cards, it all depends on the raw card. If someone's looking at the raw card and they say, especially if you're at a card show, and there's a raw card sitting there, and the sellers, the vendors, they're not fools. They know what the PSA values are. So if they're looking at something and they're like, hey, that's going to grade out a 9 or a 10, this is what I'm asking for it based on what this card looks like.
I think that what he's getting at, Steve, is just
okay.
Just as a whole, just raw cards on eBay as a whole, are they with all the, PSA, slabs, is it kind of like, is this like a slab gate question, where we have
Well,
kind of a massive amount of cards coming back slabbed? Does that kind of cheapen raw cards in general?
okay, so as far as demand, as far as people wanting to buy raw as opposed to having something already in a slab,
Okay, so
or
here's what he follows up. I think raw cards blew up because people wanted to get them slabbed ASAP, and now they can't do that.
okay, I get what he's saying.
I can see that. I can see that. I think a lot of people were probably thinking like, this is a gold mine. I'm buying raw. I get it into PSA, and probably not thinking that turnaround times were going to go from 3 months to 6 months. I'm sure when you sent that in August, Steve, when did you expect to get it back?
NFL playoffs.
Okay, so
because I sent in some football cards that I hope to capitalize on during that time frame.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people in that boat where it was like, okay, I'll have this back in 90 days, worst case, and now it's 6-7 months, and it's out there.
Yeah, that order has some nice Josh Allen stuff on it, and that my time to capitalize on Josh Allen this year is come and gone, and
so now that's a preseason sell.
Now I got to wait on it, and it was actually some good stuff. I could have really turned some good profit on. But yeah, talking about raw cards, it doesn't make sense. I've stopped buying a lot of raw cards. For example, this is just one box that I was sitting here going through today because I sent in 25 cards. So this is all raw stuff that's ready for me to evaluate. Some of it's already evaluated and in card savers. I got 4 stacks of these that got to go in, and these other 2 rows have still got to be looked at. So for me,
totally agree with that. Yeah,
I just can't buy any more raw cards because I'm so backed up on what I have, and I'm so backed up on what I have because I'm so backed up on getting my cards returned from PSA.
Right. Yeah, you're probably thinking I could have already flipped. That's all money that's just it's held up for new stuff.
I have 60, I think 70 maybe cards that just got uploaded to Star Stock also because I just was like, man, there's no way I can get all these to PSA and have them back in a nice time to make money off of them. So I sent a handful of them in to Star Stock.
Let's seg over to Star Stock because I know that was a platform you were doing quite a bit on going back a couple of months. And I'm not sure if it was you that said it along with others, but basically what I've heard is just that Star Stock has slowed down a little bit over the last few weeks as far as transactions over the last month or whatever. Have you seen that? Have you seen it come back? Do you think it's coming back? Like, what's your thought on Star Stock right now?
It's come back a little bit. It's not at what it was when it was at its peak, like preseason NBA. The hype coming into the NBA season not only hyped up cards and players, it allowed that platform to excel because all those players that were being traded, by the minute, trading hands, not trading teams. But, if one guy went out in the preseason and had a 25 to 30 point game and his cards were 50 cents, the next day they were $15, because that was the market that we were in. And you could buy guys, really guys that aren't even getting playing time right now. And you could buy those for 50 cents and flip them for 10, 12, 15 bucks in bulk instantly and make good money. It's just basically the buyers have smartened up. The people have smartened up. So,
speaking of that too, and we won't get in, I know it's a subject that not a lot of, physical card holders want to talk about, but NBA Top Shot, do you think that the slowdown in Star Stock over the last 30 days has been in part money moving over to Top Shot? Because, and I just say that because kind of a lot of there's similarities. I know there's physical cards behind the Star Stock model, but it is kind of as far as buying and selling goes, it's a virtual environment where you're buying and selling, and you might not even touch the cards. It's kind of a fluid thing. Do you think that might have had something to do with it?
I'm not going to say. I think that Top Shot might have affected different markets or different things more so than it has affected Star Stock, because Star Stock is strictly rookies. A lot of the guys being bought, sold, and traded on Star Stock don't even have NBA Top Shot moments because they're just not famous enough to have one.
Okay, so you think it's a different market?
And guys like, and it's a lot of newer stuff. The high-end guys on Top Shot are LeBron and Steph and Kevin Durant, your superstars, the guys that your faces of the NBA. And those aren't the types of cards that are being traded on Star Stock. You don't see Durant rookies and LeBron rookies and stuff being sold on there.
That's a good point. Yeah, I forgot about that it's only rookies.
Yeah, so it's just guys that were here today, gone tomorrow type guys that were being flipped overnight. One of the biggest ones I made money off of was a player named Isaiah Roby, where he came in, he got a start and scored 13 points. And literally the cards that I was buying for $1, I was able to sell for $13, $16, raw. People were buying with peace of mind with the fact that, hey, this is a PSA 10. I think everybody was also thinking, okay, it's a Star Stock A. I got a good shot at getting a 10. When their first submission came back and they had a 40% gem rate, I think that kind of hurt the platform a little bit because now people are looking at, well, a majority of their submissions came back as 9s. And I've been buying these raw cards for for higher price. Star Stock A's at one time were selling for more than PSA 9s, which
I thought
didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, back up a little bit there because I thought that when they got their first batch of A's back that it was good. It was like 90% or something. Are you saying that there was something like it came back 40%?
It was like 40%. The most recent one at least was like 40%.
Okay. Because I remember them marketing that something, like basically I think it was their first return. Their first PSA return was like 90% of the A's were either 9 or 10.
They were 9 or 10, yes.
But most of them 9, is that what you're saying?
It was a 40% gem rate. It was a 40% 10 rate.
Got it. Okay.
But combined, it was a 90% 9-10 rate. And then they had like a 10% where they got a couple 8s or whatever like that. But yeah, combined, it was like, and that's how they advertise it because that made it look good. Combined, their Star Stock A's got a 9 or higher of like 88% or something like that. But their 10s alone, standalone as 10s, was 40%. Which isn't necessarily that bad considering they're not guaranteeing you even a 9. They're just saying, hey, we think it'll be a 9, but no guarantees. But, the mentality of someone who's paying a premium for a raw card for peace of mind and also thinking or paying a price higher than a PSA 9, now they're probably kicking themselves and saying, I bought that card. Okay, a PSA 9 was selling for $50. I bought this Star Stock A for $65. And I paid $30 to have it submitted, and I got a 9. So now they're in $95 on a card that they could have already bought slabbed, for less.
Yeah, and that's not a good feeling, I'm sure.
I think that little bit of a sting may have hurt the platform a little bit. I do believe they're grading a lot harder because my cards that got uploaded, I did well, but I didn't do nearly as well as I thought, especially on some of the cards I sent. Because the cards that I sent in are easy evaluations, and I evaluate a lot of cards. So I do believe due to that reason, they're grading a lot more strict. Now, I don't know if that'll help them save. Maybe their next submission will come back, and they'll be able to say, hey, we did have an 85% gem rate. And then that might bring people back into the swing of paying bigger dollars for Star Stock A's.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Mosaic Mind, it's a good point here, and it's something to remember for those that are just joining. I was talking with Jeremy last night on the stream just about, the last 18 months, we've really been kind of on a bull run. We've had some slowdowns and some plateaus, but for the most part, it's really been kind of on the rise, the card market. But I'm telling you, when I got back in 3 years ago, there was nowhere near the volatility as there is now in the card market. And I honestly won't be too sad. And I know that a lot of collectors will say the same thing. I know that, I wouldn't necessarily view a down market as a bad thing. That's a great buying opportunity. And that's what Mosaic Mind is talking about here. There's going to be opportunities to get really important cards, key cards again. Maybe not the super rare stuff that Fractional's buying up, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if the regular market has a little bit of a stag. If we have a few months where, it just drops, I don't think that would be bad at all. And those are and that's what makes it fun to kind of play both sides of it.
Yeah. Well, there's dips and spikes in the market throughout the hot time. This hot run that we've been on, there has been dips and there's been spikes. whether it's been in another sport or whether it's been a market within the two separate markets within the same sport. As you see modern and vintage in basketball, it's the same sport, but two different markets within the same sport. So you saw the modern stuff, you saw that money shift into vintage, and it was a good buying opportunity for modern. And modern is now on the rise, and a lot of vintage is starting to stabilize. It's not necessarily dipping, but it's stabilizing because money's coming back into modern, and money's going into football, believe it or not. I don't know if people want to believe it, but there is a little bit of money going into football because there are the people that want to beat that rush of buying their Carson Wentz's, which is too late, or buying their Kyler Murray's, which are kind of going up because, he'll have a lot of hype going into the season. There's a couple football players now that I'm buying because I just want to have them and I want to put them away. If I wait 2 or 3 months, and we'll see the money shift again. We'll see basketball stabilize and maybe take another small dip as money moves into the football market, just like we saw this year. However, a new floor will be established every time. And every time that new floor is established, it'll be higher than the previous floor, which means your future spikes are going to be higher as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think that and you hear, we talk about it, but a lot of people talk about in the hobby, you typically do get kind of a little bit of a break on pricing in the off season. And maybe that will go away as more people get into the hobby and kind of, and more people talk about it. Just wait to the off season. You can get a better deal, and maybe maybe there won't be better deals, but I mean, I'm sure it'll probably be better than it is, leading up to a season, but it might get tighter and tighter. It might not as much of a big drop off.
Yeah, I would. So Trae Young, I use this as a small example. I did a video on this, and I did it last year when I was doing basketball targets for the bubble. I did a video doing basketball targets going into the bubble, and at the end of that video, I was like, one of my targets is Trae Young, and a lot of people were like, "Why are you targeting Trae Young? He's eliminated from the playoffs. His cards are going down," and that was exactly my reason. And I stated in that, I said, everyone says that they're going to buy Trae Young in the offseason. You know what that means? I need to buy him before the offseason. Mm-hmm. So that was my whole logic behind it. I was like, if everyone's buying him in the offseason, that means I need to buy him now because in a month, everybody else is going to start buying him. Everybody has the same mentality now. So now everybody's trying to one-up each other, beat each other to the punch, be ahead of the curve. So it's making markets pretty much be strong all year because the downside or the off season is kind of like no longer existing as it gets shortened and shortened and shortened. Like I'm talking about buying football cards right now at the end of February when I normally wouldn't start talking about buying them until July, but that's the way the market has become.
Well, and really too, I mean, I know that, we do talk about like, look, there's, a lot of these new rookies are not going to be the next LeBron James, et cetera. But the reality is if you're a little bit patient with some of these newer guys, whether it be Jason Tatum or Luka or, Trae Young or any of these younger guys, if you just give it a few years, LeBron's not going to play forever. I mean, I know that everyone thinks that he is because he's playing at such a high level at 36. It's kind of like Tom Brady. Tom Brady and LeBron are the same. It's like they're never going to quit playing, but at some point they will. And it won't be that long if you have and then you have to think about who's going to control the NBA at that point.
Right. Well,
who's next? And that's why we all kind of speculate on those guys. But the reality is there will be new champions. It won't be the Lakers winning it every year. There will be new teams, that are doing it.
I also remember in 2003 when everybody was saying that LeBron wasn't the next Michael. So, no, don't buy LeBron. He's not the next Michael Jordan. He's going to be a bust. He's so hyped coming out of high school. Nobody's going to be the next Michael. And here we are sitting, 17, 18 years later, talking about how he's arguably with Jordan, the two best players of all time. So you never know. And that's why it's always a gamble. And you pick and choose your targets because you can't buy everybody. And you just hope that you hope that you've hit on 2 out of your 5 targets. I mean, really, that's all you got to do. If you're safe and pick your 5 targets wisely, then hitting on 2 of them is usually a good percentage. It's usually enough for you to get a good return. And
and the other thing too is you don't necessarily, for these, and I would say for me, sports cards, I do have long-term PC stuff. Like I've got vintage football where like in 20 years, I plan to keep to have it. But the reality is that these are more short-term plays. And when I say short-term, I'm not talking about like buy and sell in a week or a month or something. I'm talking about like under 5 years or maybe under 7 years. So really, if you're looking at players, it's kind of like, is Jason Tatum going to go to a finals in the next 5 years? Is he going to? Could he win a championship in the next 5 years? Could he maybe win an MVP? You know, those are things that I look at. I don't need him to be the next LeBron.
Exactly.
I just need him to maybe do something good in the next 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's a knock on Zion was people was like his body, his frame, he's just too big. There's no way he lasts 10 or 12 years in the NBA with his body type. I don't need Zion to be an NBA superstar for 10 years. I need him to be an NBA superstar for 4 or 5 years, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's going to be my window. Because, you know, 5 to 10 years down the road, I mean, who knows what's going to be happening in the card market, period, let alone with a certain player. If the card market is down, it doesn't matter how good a player is doing, you know? Look at the price of LeBron cards and stuff, you know, 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
And tell me if it mattered how good that he was. It didn't. It didn't matter that he was winning championships and breaking records because nobody cared about the card market. Not nobody, but I mean, it wasn't what it is. Right. So, you know, even the Jordan rookies and things like that. And Jordan was retired and established himself as the greatest of all time. And look at the value of his cards. I mean,
yeah, I saw an analogy that was really good about that Jordan, you know, the Jordan rookie PSA 10. And it was basically, you know, the people that are predicting the crash and everything else. And let's just call it a $500,000 card right now. You know, I know we've seen sales that are higher than that, but let's just call it, just to use large numbers, you know, it's a $500,000 card. 3 years ago, that was a $40,000 card all day, $40,000 card. So if the market drops 90%, it's still up. You know, it's still up from it's still up. It still was actually a decent investment if it drops 90%. You know, so it's like once you put things into context, you know, it's like, you know, define a crash, really. It's like, you know, I mean, and then I think that card will always have, you know, it's like what you said, we establish a new floor. You know, do I think PSA 10 Jordans are going to be 30 grand again? I don't think so. They might be, but I don't think that they will be.
Yeah, it's like when people talked about the soccer market crash at the end of last year after it spiked so high. I mean, it spiked so high that it had to come down, but it wasn't a crash if you bought at the original prices. You know, those Mbappes and Messis and Neymar, all those prisms were $5, $6 raw, and then they spiked up to like $500-$600 raw, and then they came back down to like $200. So yeah, people say, oh look, they went from 500 to 200. It took over 100% crash. But I was like, if you bought them when they were $5, you're still making, you know, 200 times your money or whatever. So I was just like, or not 200, like 2,000 times your money. But I was just like,
it's silly.
It all depends on where you were buying in at, on whether or not you can define something as a crash.
Yeah, I mean, we have to keep it in perspective. I mean, historically, you know, what the stock market historically is 8, 9, 10% over time, and that's considered a good return. Now, granted, I understand investing in companies is different than sports cards and collectibles. I get all that, but when we talk about turning your money over, you know, in a couple of weeks, a week, a day, doubling your money, that's not normal stuff. It's not normal. Yeah. So enjoy it. We have to, I guess, kind of enjoy it while we can. There are no guarantees that it'll be like that tomorrow, you know? So, you know, I do think this, I agree. I saw someone saying, you know, sports cards are here to stay. I definitely do think that we've established a new floor. I think collectibles are starting to become more defined as alternative assets and alternative investments. I do think that that's going to be a thing. But the returns and all the kind of the pricing the way it is now is not normal. I don't see it staying this way forever at all.
Right.
So, all right. Let's see. We're getting off, guys, in the chat. We're getting a little off topic with Bitcoin and blockchain and everything else. Come back to us. All right, Cody's talking about 96 Space Jam Upper Deck. Is that a card, or have you gotten into that card set, Steve? 96.
I haven't. I got some.
Is that a rookie set?
Yeah, I had someone talk about it last night. I think it just has to do with the original Space Jam movie with Michael Jordan. There were some cards that come out of there with the Looney Tunes and stuff on them that have Michael Jordan and stuff on them. Again, anytime you're dealing with anything from that era, you're going to need it in a PSA 10 because there's going to be tons of it, raw. There's going to be tons of it unopened. So in a PSA 10, could get a little bit of a value. I mean, look at the 92 hoops and a PSA 10 is like a $300 card. I mean, then again, in a PSA 9, it probably had zero value. So yeah, they're cool, neat cards because they got the cartoons on them. They go with the themed with the movie and things like that. But you're talking about that era of when you're messing with mass production, and you're definitely going to need like a really high grade on that for it to be desirable, with the supply and demand.
I do not know which cards Kyle's talking about. MJ Upper Deck Agent 23 and Larry Bird Birdman cards.
I think they're from an Upper Deck set where they did, was it Fanimation or something like that? It was another.
Are they 90s inserts? I'm
not sure if they were inserts or just high numbers in the Upper Deck set, but I'm not sure. But I think it was the I want to say, I don't know if it was Fanimation or if that may not be what they were called, but they were like they almost look like comic book superheroes in the on the cards. A lot of people have been talking about this also. I got the same question before, and I had to give the same answer as I did for the others because I looked at these cards when the Last Dance were out, and they didn't really spike a whole lot during the Last Dance. They got a little bit of value just because of Jordan. But again, they need to be graded out. Yeah, really high. Yeah, they're at the end of that Upper Deck set. And
okay.
They need to have high grades on them because it's junk wax era stuff.
Yeah. Or anything early 90s is tough.
Yeah, even they look cool. I mean, if you're asking me my opinion on how they look, I think they're neat. It's got Larry Bird and Michael Jordan, drawn up like comic book heroes and stuff like that. But as far as seeing a big market for them, don't know.
Paul asked, have you ever cracked a BCCG case or done a crossover? I've never cracked a case, period. Honestly, I don't have any confidence that I wouldn't mess up the card.
So frankly. I haven't. This is a huge thing that I'm having a tug of war in my mind with right now, though, because the Jordan.
Yeah. Steve has a reason to do this, actually.
So I'll pull this out. So, yeah, I didn't plant this guy in the comments either and have this card ready. So here's a BCCG 9 Jordan. Now, I'm having a tug of war in my head on whether or not I want to crack this and submit it or just keep it as is, because it does have standalone value in this slab. Believe it or not, there is a market on this. They do sell on eBay. They sell through PWCC and some of the bigger auction houses. It does say on the back that it's Beckett, so at least it's affiliated with Beckett to an extent, which does give it a little bit of a reputation. Now, I don't know what I want to do with it because I bought this card so cheap. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I got this card for only $5,000. So
for only $5,000.
Yeah, $5,000. I mean, for the market on it. I mean, I've seen one of these go on. Yeah, I've seen one of these go on eBay for.
Yeah, you can't get a 6. You can't get a 5 for $5,000.
Right, and that was my whole reason when I bought it. Is when the guy gave me his price. He gave me $5,500. I said, "How about $5,000?" I submit a couple cards to PSA for you. He was like, "That's cool." So that's what we did. And I said to myself, if I keep it like this, the last one that sold on eBay, it fluctuates anywhere between 12 and like 16,000 on a high end, 12 on a bad day, kind of. In this case, now if I snap it and get a 7 or a 6, I'm still going to make more than $5,000 off of it. So that was my whole mentality. And other than a little bit of centering and a little teeny bit of a bad corner, I've had this evaluated at 2 card shops. I took this, and because my Larry Bird and Magic Johnson is a BGS 8, I took it to 2 card shops that do group submissions because I wanted second and third opinions on what they thought they would snap if they snapped at. One guy told me that this would get nothing lower than a 7. Or actually, both of them told me this one would get nothing lower than a 7, and both card shops thought that my BGS 8 Bird Magic would definitely 8 as a PSA. So, I bought those at a bargain because I was able to get the Larry Bird Magic Johnson for $2,500 when the PSAs were at $8,300, and I was able to get this Jordan for $5,000. When the PSA 7s are way more than $5,000. So, yeah, and they give me some good evals on them.
Now, what is the overall view? I know that, the big scary thing with Jordans is it a reprint? Is it a fake? Is it and that was, I know that crossed your mind as well, just not being in a
Yeah.
PSA case. Did you,
Well,
what were your thoughts like going in? Was it just like worth the risk, or did you just research like what are normal fakes looking like? And then just,
yeah, and I had an idea of some flaw. I know how to spot some fakes myself because back
yeah,
in the day, when I collected before, they've been making fakes of this Jordan card for the last probably 15, 20 years. So it's not like all of a sudden this card is worth a lot of money and they've been counterfeiting it. This card's been counterfeited for a long time, and I knew how to spot some of the old counterfeits. I didn't know. I looked this card up in the registry and saw that it was slabbed by Beckett in 2007. So it's been slabbed in that slab for over 13 years, 14 years. So I just had confidence that with it being slabbed for that long, that at least I know it wasn't slabbed last week as a counterfeit. And
yeah,
also that with it being Beckett and me seeing BCCG Jordans selling on eBay through PWCC, that, which is a reputable market auction house. Now, they get a bad reputation for some, but they sell high end stuff. I mean, that's where the Mickey Mantle came out of that sold recently. So,
yeah.
it just, pretty much made me a little more at ease. And then they also evaluated it at the card shop. I mean, the first thing the guy did when I asked him to evaluate the grade was he was like, well, the grade's not what's important. What's important is if this thing is authentic or not.
Yeah.
And he pulled out a big old Sherlock Holmes magnifying glass, and he was like running it over. And he looked at me. He was like, well, the positive is that you got the real McCoy here. That was a quote that he said. Sounded like it was straight out of Pawn Stars or something. But so that was cool. And then he was like, man, he goes, if you snap that, that's a 7 or better. So he was like, and then he even said, congratulations, you own the most important card in basketball history, which I never even thought about it like that.
Sadly, well, yeah, it is. I think Yam might say I think it was Yam that likes the George Mikan 48 Bowman, but I think it was Yam that would talk about the Bowman Mikan. I had the opportunity. I didn't have $4,500 on me, but I went to a show with my daughter here maybe 4 or 5 months back, and there was a beautiful 7 there and the guy was asking $4,500. He was asking $4,500, but I knew that he would have taken less. He probably would have taken $4,000 for it. And it was a really, really nice looking 7. I mean, the edges and the corners were great. There was some top to bottom centering that, maybe a little bit of an issue there, but it was a really nice looking 7. I didn't have $4,000 on me, didn't have the guts to go dig out, find $4,000. And now that cost me. Ed, I think here's the problem, Ed, with this. So a lot of people say cards are going to crash like the stock market. What defines a crash versus a correction? Here's part of the problem with this is that there's not really a consensus that I've seen where there's actually a consensus of this is a crash and this is a correction. And people throw these terms out like it's, they use them very loosely, a crash or a correction. And I think that it probably differs depending on your viewpoint. One man's crash might be another man's correction and vice versa. I guess maybe some would say Black Monday in the 80s, the crash, maybe the 2008 financial crisis would be a crash. Great Depression crash. I mean, those are obviously crashes. But outside of that, I think it just probably depends on your perspective on it. And then also, what's your perspective on the crash? A lot of people will just they'll double, triple down on it if they believe in it. If it's something where Michael Jordan rookie cards crash and they're down 90%, I'm in on that market. I'm in on it. Even if the one that let's say I owned a Michael Jordan PSA 10 and it was 500,000 and now it's worth 40, I'm probably trying to get 5 more of them if I can. That would be my mindset if I had the money. I'm hypothetically speaking. And that carries down to other cards as well. How do you feel on that, Steve?
Oh yeah, pretty much said everything that I would have said. Yeah, people overreact on a crash as opposed to corrections, which I don't know. People jump to extremes. I know you don't like to talk in extremes or definites. A oh, the market's going to definitely crash by 2024, like Vegas Dave says, or it's definitely going to go up. Speaking indefinites is never, nothing's a guarantee. And, well, taxes, death. But,
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, it's just, you're going to see corrections, but those aren't crashes. And like I said, every time something corrects itself downwards, there's always tends to be a following upwards trend sooner or later that's better than the original floor. So I've just been reading some of the comments. Somebody asked about PWCC, things like that. And you got Grumpy Card Guy being grumpy.
I know. Why are you being grumpy, man? We're talking about cards. You're killing me.
I pulled out a Jordan rookie on camera. I mean, what's more card than that?
I know. I mean, we haven't even started talking about starting lineups yet. All right. Speaking of starting lineups, my wife's getting pretty upset about the room downstairs that's half full of boxes of starting lineups. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with those yet, and don't worry, I'm not going to go in on starting lineups, the starting lineup talk, but that's an enjoyable nostalgia thing for me.
Yeah, it is. Real quick, that's one of the things. Okay, so I was asked about starting lineups. I was also asked by Chris, who's in on it, Vegas, and
Yes.
he messaged me and was like, "Man, what do you think about it?" And I think they're awesome. It's all nostalgia for me. I love the players. I have open ones. I still have an open. I have an open Jordan. It's at my brother's house. My niece has it on her television, so it's there by her like Xbox. It's a Jordan, but and I have an open Dan Marino one. But to me, I just can't stretch everywhere. Like I believe in the starting lineups. I believe there's investment potential there with the action figure, with the card. You cross the NBA with action figures, which are two good markets. I believe that the potential is there, but with me, I just can't get everything. And one of the biggest weighing factors when it came to me with starting lineups was they're harder to ship, they're harder to store, they're harder to put away. They're going to take up space.
Will nailed it right here.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say, man? What are you trying to say? I understand what you're saying. I get it. Hey, my wife's pretty hot, so I'm lucky there. I'm good. I'm probably really testing her though. I'm testing her. She's like, "What? I don't have to deal with this." I'm really pushing the envelope.
We got Mike O in chat here. If you guys are looking for group submissions, I believe he still does them. I've submitted some stuff through Mike O, his group submissions. I did a big SGC order with him this summer. And
also, Mike O has a great YouTube channel as well.
He does his reveals and stuff on there.
Yeah, I go to him and a few others for baseball card content just to learn, because I'm not a big baseball guy, but I do like to see awesome baseball cards. And he's one of the channels that has them and talks about it. Don't invest in the reserve version of starting lineups called bench warmers. That's right.
Well, there was a starting lineup that I was going to point out to you because I know you were interested in the market. I actually put one on my eBay watch list because I thought it was neat. Now, I don't know how valuable it is, but it was the team set of the Dream Team. It was a 1992, and you may have looked at it already, but it was like a 1992 starting lineup Dream Team set, and it had all the starters from the USA team.
Yep, I've almost bought that a couple of times.
It has Jordan in it, man.
I know, and it'll probably be something where I look back and I'm like, damn it, I could have got that all day,
I saw it for $80, and I'd probably be kicking my butt being like, damn it, I didn't want to take up space. Why didn't I just buy that?
Yeah, exactly. I've been focused on, I got like an 88. 88 was the first year for it. I actually think, speaking of Merino, I got an 88 in the box Merino. It was $50. I mean, no, actually that one was $70. So, I mean, it's not cheap, but I mean, if you compare it to sports cards, it's like how many, and the other part is the box in good condition and all of that too.
Yeah.
This one is in really good shape. It's an 88 Merino. I got an 88 Magic Johnson that's in good shape for $30. So that stuff, part of it, if you're looking at, I won't go too much on a tangent here. I know everyone's here for cards and not action figures, but if you're looking back at 80s, like Masters of the Universe action figures in the box or Thundercats or any of that stuff, you cannot find it. And if you do find it, you pay a small fortune to get it. There's hardcore collectors for that stuff. And so part of my thinking behind the 88 starting lineup being the kind of the rookie card of that set, and I know a lot of people are cracking those open to get the cards out and to grade the cards, the starting lineup cards. So that also tells me that supply is dwindling on the stuff that's still in good shape in the box because people are cracking them open to get the cards.
Yeah,
It's a fun play for me. It's not crazy expensive. It's a nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
So that's why.
I had a huge 1980s collection, graded file cards, weapons, everything packaged, G.I. Joe figures, all from the early 80s. The original guys who didn't even have the swivel arms, but it was the small action figures, not the old stuff from, World War II and stuff. But, and oh man, I loved that collection. I had it displayed, and about 12 years ago, I just fell on some hard times and I had to sell it. And to go back and try to get that stuff now, because that was stuff that it was stuff that I collected because it was stuff. It was another nostalgia turn for me. Like I was collecting the stuff in like 2000 and stuff because in 1980 when I was a kid, that's what I loved to play with, and I used to tear them up. And then in 2000, I went back and bought. I had a nostalgia swing and went back and bought a collection, and then had to end up selling it off. I'll probably never really get it back for what I was, I sold it for at prices nowadays. But I love that collection. I had to let it go.
Let's shift over to this question. It's a good one because I've seen varying reports on this. I see people that are like, I can get PSA 9s for less than quad 9.5 BGSs. And then I see another comment here where Bark Charles Lee, I like that name, BGS 9.5 is expensive. And it probably just varies by card, I assume. I assume that there's some cards where there's a value. There's probably an inefficiency in that market to where maybe you get a BGS 9.5 for a great deal. And then I'm sure there's probably other cards where you don't get any sort of a break on it. Do you have any sort of a take on BGS 9.5? Have you been picking those up? Or
Well, I think it's a really good value when you see them sometimes at 50% the value of a PSA 10. I mean, I think the same thing about SGC 10s. When you see them at 50 to 60% of a PSA 10, to me, it's just value. Now, it may not have as high of a ceiling, but you're in at a lower price, so you're in at a lower risk, even though your final reward might not be as high as what it is at PSA. But what if that grading company was to take off? Now you're looking at even a bigger spike. But I have a card for sale right now, and I have it listed. I have this up on eBay right now. This is a Dwayne Wade rookie, BGS 9.5. Now this is all 9.5s with centering 10. So this is a true gem plus. I mean, this has a 10 on centering, 9.5 corners, 9.5 edges, 9.5 surface. The PSA 10s are probably at least $1,000 and some dollars. I probably won't even get $600 for this. To me, I mean, which is crazy. And if this was to be cracked, more than likely this is a PSA 10, with it being all 9.5s and a BGS 10. I have a Steph Curry also that has two 9.5s and two 10s on it. It's a 0.5 away from being a BGS 10. But if I was to put it on eBay, people would look at it and give me 60%, maybe 70% with the subgrades of what they would a PSA 10.
Interesting.
Just tough. But again, that could be value. I mean, if you want to buy, if someone was to buy this for $600 and snap it, send it to PSA, they're probably going to get a $1,200 card out of it. Now, on the other end of that spectrum, though, is some of this high-end stuff. Like I was talking about a Larry Bird Magic auto that I was looking at last night, and I was talking about how, people are buying Kobe patches and autos and stuff like that. You're seeing all these high-end, LeBron RPAs and Kobe patch autos and stuff like that being bought, sold, and traded in BGS cases, which is funny to me because those are the really high-tier cards, and they're slabbed by BGS almost as if they're more desirable in that BGS case because, to be honest, I think BGS cases look better than PSA cases. I think this looks more like a frame. I think it's more sturdy. It's a lot thicker. People don't tend to like that because people want to be able to stack their PSA slabs. But stacking PSA slabs causes you to get scuffs and scratches and stuff on them. If you want to stack 100, Tyler Hero prisms because you want to flip them out, that's one thing. But if you want a really high-end card in a nice sturdy case that's got a low population on it, that it's going to be bought and sold not as liquid, but have, high-end sales on it, the BGS stuff is up there, in comparison to PSA. I would rather have an RPA and my auto as well, because BGS puts the grade auto on there. People value the BGS autograph grade more than they do the PSA autograph grade, but they grade the PSA card. So a PSA 10 card is worth more than a BGS 9.5 card, but a BGS 10 autograph is worth more than a PSA 10 autograph.
And BGS dominates autograph authentication. It's not even close. Yeah, it's always BGS.
From that aspect, from those really high-end tier cards that you don't see traded every day, but when they do get traded, they buy and sell for big money. I lost that auto card last night for 4,100. So it went for 4,100 in a BGS 8.5. Okay, that's not a BGS 10 or a BGS 9.5. A BGS 8.5 with an auto 10, and people were buying that card for the auto. Make no mistake, they weren't buying that card because it was an immaculate card with Larry Bird and Magic Johnson's face on it. They were buying it because it was an on-card auto. So that's where a lot of your bigger value goes with BGS, and the quick flip, lower tier type cards goes with PSA.
I'm going to cut in real quick. Jeff McCombs, got any Mad Balls? On a serious note, if you have Mad Balls from the 80s that are still in the package, or even if they're not in the package, reach out to me because I'm interested in those. If anybody watching this has those, they're basically these like Nerf. It's like a Nerf ball that had like a crazy face on it, like a gory face on it. It'd be like a baseball or whatever. But I used to play with those when I was young. And if you have them from the 80s, I'm not talking. They did remakes and stuff.
Yeah, they did remakes. Ones. I had the Screaming Mimi one, was its name, I think, and it was the baseball with the tongue out and the eyes were real big.
Yes.
That's the one I had it.
Jason Carver, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
What's up?
I heard that Luka hit a game winner against the Celtics. I don't know if I want to tell you that. Steve's a Celtics fan.
The Celtics. The Celtics are just in shambles. I mean, they blew a 24-point lead to the Pelicans the other night, and the Pelicans aren't even what you would call a defensive team. And I think the Celtics as a team shot. Kemba Walker was god awful. He was like 1 for 12 from 3 and like 3 for.
It feels like he's kind of done. Is he not? I mean, it's like last year in the playoffs, he was kind of irrelevant.
He's hit or miss. I mean, the night before, I think he led the team in scoring with like 30 or 29. And then the night after, he was 1 for 12 from 3 and like 3 for 20 from the field. I was like, what?
That's rough. What's up, Tony? E-Man, how you doing? Okay. They're just talking about the game. What do you think about HGA grading? Have you done anything with them yet, Steve?
I have tried, and I keep missing the cutoff. Okay. I have 3 cards that I want to send. There's a reason. I'll give you my reasoning because people are going to be like, why are you going to send to SGA? Or, I will say that with them selling out 2 minutes within the time that they open submissions every week shows that people are using them. Now, whether it's only 1,000 people or 1,000 cards at a time. If you go on eBay and look at some of the listings, they're selling. They got lots of bids. Like you see Joe Burrow rookie cards on there. You see multiple cards on there. Some of it is modern. Some of it is just cards that people are like, hey, I just want to, you could tell it was a test card, things like that. But they're getting bids and they look really good. I've seen YouTube reveals where the slabs look good and they've gotten high reviews on those channels. I can't personally speak on how durable the slabs are and what they look like in person. I'm definitely going to try them. Anybody that guarantees me a turnaround time, I'm automatically interested in. And I believe anybody in the market is automatically interested in. And at a time when you got to capitalize when something is hot and the market is so volatile and changes so much, turnaround times can be the difference between 5X-ing your money or taking a loss. So,
yeah, Adam talks about, I think, buy the dip is kind of a theme for us, for me and Steve. Do you guys have money in Top Shot? Market is on a big dip tonight. I usually look for the dips and then I go in on the dips. If you believe in something, whether it's Top Shot, whether it's real estate, whether it's sports cards, whatever it is, I'm always looking for that dip. Not saying I'm always like timely and make it all happen, but that's usually where my buying pattern. I try to make my buying patterns in relation to the dip, or a correction or whatever you want to call that.
3 cards that I want to put into SGA real quick is I got this Brady Luminance Gold numbered out of 299. It's not his Prism, but his Prism Silver was like the hottest card on the market 2 weeks ago. And this is actually his first Tampa Bay uniform. And this is going to be more rare than a Silver Prism. It's numbered out of 299. So if you get that into a black and red slab, a collector, I think, is going to eat that up. This Kareem Courtside Prism. It's just a select 2015 Courtside Prism, but in the right slab to the right collector, and a cool looking slab with a yellow and black. And then I just wanted to send in a Tyler Hero Select Premier level because I wanted to gauge the market of that's just strictly a test of gauging the market on a modern day card of somebody who's got a little bit of hype around him. What will a Tyler Hero sell for in comparison to a PSA? So that's just definitely a guinea pig card right there. And then these two were cards that I feel like would have appeal to collectors, especially in a cool looking slab. And I just want to test it out like that. If I eat some profit, if I eat some profit on the Tyler Hero, at least it'll be worth the testing the waters with it for me.
I'd like to see, it'd be cool as Cody Little mentions, the dip is Kobe Auto right now. It would be pretty sweet if someone, because I feel like with Kobe's, you're not really messing around with anything outside of PSA because you want the value out of PSA. But it'd be really nice to see like an HGA yellow labeled slab, with the Kobe card in it. I think it would look awesome. I mean, I don't know what the resale would look like for it, but I'm sure it would be pretty wicked looking.
Well, I told you about a week ago I sent in a 2003 Topps LeBron to PSA. And I really contemplating trying to send that thing to HGA. I really did. I sat and I looked at it. I was like, I spent $700 on this raw. I was so close to sending it to HGA because what if it's the first LeBron rookie graded by HGA? There might be a collector out there looking for that.
Right.
Do I risk putting that at auction? Probably not. But could I throw that up there with a nice price on it and be like, the right collector is going to want it in this slab? Yeah. And it's the only one. So I kind of contemplated that, and I just didn't. But in hindsight being 2020, I probably should have because I don't think it's going to sell for much less than a PSA just because the market's not flooded with HGA slabs. And I believe I think people want this to succeed. And a lot of times that's what you need. You need the people to want it to succeed, but you also need to be able to honor what you offer to your customers. People wanted SGC to succeed, but they shot themselves in the foot and made promises that they couldn't keep. HGA, people want them to succeed. They're giving people what they want. They're giving people something that's aesthetically appealing. They're giving people guaranteed turnaround times. That stuff as customers and buyers, buyers want stuff that looks good. Customers want to get what they pay for when it comes to their services. And people want them to succeed. The only drawback I see is limiting their submissions, but they have to do that in order to guarantee what they advertise. So, right. If they could get scale up a little bit, take more submissions to keep people happy, because eventually if you go to the website every day and they're sold out, eventually you're just not going to go back because you're just going to be like, oh, it's not even worth trying. Like how many people go to Panini's website now and try to buy product when it drops? How many people try to go buy hobby boxes off Panini's website? Nobody does because they know they're not going to get in. So it's kind of like that. I haven't looked at the Panini's website in probably 2 months because I know there's no product I'm going to be able to get in on. So you don't want it to come to that?
Yeah, with HGA, there might be kind of some novelty to it because of the scarcity of them. Yep. Because they're cool looking and they're not easy to get done because they only take 1,000 a week or however many they're taking. So there might be a little bit of a scarcity game there where people just like the look of those. And maybe it's just collectors, maybe it's not flippers, but you don't need, if you just have a good collector following for those slabs, that's really that's what you build off of. That's where they'll have success.
Definitely hit like everything that I was thinking. You hit the nail on the head with that. Like, it doesn't take a lot. It just takes the right people to see it. And
what's up, Brad?
The novelty of that slab.
Brad stopped by. I don't know if he's still here, but good to see you, buddy. Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, what are the likes at? Does anybody know?
I don't know. If I know Brad, though, he stopped in to hit the dislike button. Usually I've got 7 to 10 dislikes on every video, and Brad goes into each account that he set up and just mashes that dislike button. But you know what, Brad? It's engagement regardless. So thank you for that.
Are you at 100 likes?
Oh, I don't know. I can't see it.
Hey guys out there, how many likes does Dustin have? I should be good for at least 20 likes, and he's definitely good for 80. We got to be good at 100. We got to be getting to 100 somewhere.
I was just going to show this. Mike O, if you're still watching, Jeff is trying to get a hold of you for the group submission. So if you're still watching, pop that in the chat.
It has a Facebook page.
Oh, do you know the name of it?
Mike O and JTG, I believe. If you put that kind of in the search, you'll find it.
All right, Facebook page, Jeff. If you're watching, check that out. 55.
When we have look here. Look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to give some. This is what we're going to do. If this live stream hits 100 likes, guys, if this live stream hits 100 likes, this is going to be given away on behalf of Dustin. This hanger pack of Hoops Premium, 1920. You can pull a Zion, a Jaws. This hanger pack. I won't open it on TV. I'll just mail it to one of Dustin's subscribers if this reaches 100 likes.
Steve, if you want to just send it to me too, don't feel weird. Don't feel bad.
I can send it to you, and then
you send it to me, and then I'll send it to them. Brad would hit that indifferent button if there wasn't a dislike button for him to smash.
Indifferent.
And for those that are new here, I know I have Steve on quite a bit, but if you haven't been to Flipping Steve's channel, it's awesome. Go check it out. He puts out a lot of golden nuggets on Flipping Steve YouTube channel, so check it out. We got to eat the babies. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Easy.
It's getting dark.
I'm hungry.
It's getting dark out there. Michael, good to see you, man. 88 Fleer baseball, Cody. That's funny. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap up here. I'm on the East. Actually, we're both on the East Coast. It's 10:30, and I've got little ones that are going to be waking me up here. Steve knows his hoops, does good work. Absolutely. Thank you, Will.
I got to get up on the videos, man. I've been lagging behind. I just, I got to have something to talk about. And right now, like I said, I haven't been doing a whole lot of buying, to be honest. It's hard to put out a video when I'm not buying. Yeah. And, the news updates and things like that, that's just not my forte. I leave that up to you. You do a good job with that. Whenever I'm buying something and I see a trend in the market, I'll put out a video. But right now, my last one was modern basketball, but what's happened since then? Not a whole lot.
Modern basketball, we could be looking back at this time and being like, man, I should have really put a lot of money into modern basketball during this time. Because it ebbs and flows like with anything else. This was, if there's been any sort of buying window for a lot of these guys, it's been really over the last 30 days, 45 days.
It's just, you get to a point to where you say, can a card get any lower? That's when I like to buy because I know that I limit my risk. I can always resell it for what I bought it for. So it's like, can this get it? Can a Luka Prism? That's not a card that I'm buying by no means. I would buy the Select, but can a Luka Select get any lower than $900 in a PSA 10 with the pop reports where they're at? To me, I don't think it could. It just can't unless something catastrophic happened. If he continues to play the way that he does, there's nothing that could happen. Same with Zion stuff.
Steve ruined this for me on purpose because it was against the Celtics. Steve didn't want to see these highlights, and I do want to see these highlights.
Hey, if Luka did something exciting, that's good because, Luka sets the bar for modern basketball.
Yeah, he really does. It's not Zion. A little bit Zion, but it's really Luka right now. All right, guys, we are going to head on out. Thank you very much for joining tonight. We'll do it again soon. I have Steve on usually every few weeks, so we'll definitely do it again. I enjoy hanging out with you guys in the chat. If you have, like I said, if you have not subscribed to Steve's channel, it's Flippin' Steve. Do it now. You won't regret it. And we will see you again next time. We will talk to you later. Have a good night, guys.